Hello out there, global internet people. I'm going to let in our Zoom audience now. Welcome everyone here on the Zoom call. Good to have you here. I'm Heath and Janney here with Peter McGuinness. We're going to start this show momentarily. Right now we're just setting the frame here, letting people get comfortable. I'm going to intro the program. We're going to introduce our guests. We're going to get right down to it. If you're out there on the socials, great. We can put some links out there for you to join us in the Zoom call as well. Wonderful to have you here. Thanks everyone in our live studio audience for showing up. We have our regulars, we have our newcomers, and we appreciate it. This is Piano Tech Radio Hour. If you're new, I'm going to give you the context, and that will happen right about now. So with Piano Tech Radio Hour, what we do here is we gather here every Saturday, and we meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world, as well as the music world. This could include manufacturers of instruments, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. That's an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to Radio Hour. That's just $16 a month. You get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as all the archival recordings, over 200 episodes in a member area. Join using the link bit.ly/joinptrh, bit.ly/joinptrh. Of course, we always remind you we have an audio-only version of the show. You can find that at pianotechradio.com. We have global audiences, and we've been popular in the performing arts category and iTunes in various countries over the years. You can also check us out on Substack, which is a blog version of our content. It'll give you a little bit of insight of what you can see in our member area. Some high-level stuff, both for piano techs and beyond. We just had someone talk about prepared piano, for example. That was a wonderful lecture. Scares a lot of us piano technicians, but you know, you can get the nitty-gritty about how things run down, and you can prepare yourself for those inevitable conversations, especially if you're in the university environment. And then, of course, we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Look us up on the socials. Go to the website, pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can sign up for the email list, get updates on everything that's happening. And also, there's a new program I'm putting out called the Future Education Podcast. I'd love for you to check that out. That's at podcast.uotu.xyz. But we're going to focus on today's program right now. And our guest for the day. Some artists live many musical lives. Peter McGuinness has mastered them all. A Grammy-nominated arranger, acclaimed trombonist, award-winning jazz vocalist, and respected educator, brings a rare 360 view of jazz. A pillar of the NY scene since 1987, he's performed with Maria Schneider, Lionel Hampton, Jimmy Heath, the Woody Herman Orchestra, and many others. His arranging, shaped by Bob Brookmeyer, has earned multiple Grammy nominations and has performed nationally and abroad. As a vocalist, he is known for an instrumental, fluid approach to improv, recognized by the Thelonious Monk Vocal Competition and heard with groups like the Royal Bopsters. He currently serves as Associate Professor of Jazz Studies and Arranging at William Paterson University and is an active clinician and workshop leader worldwide. Let us welcome Peter McGuinness. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour.
Thanks, Ethan. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope I live up to all those things you just mentioned.
Yes. I try to put the pressure on head
Yeah.
at the beginning. You gotta perform. This is, if you do well here, you'll win that next Grammy.
I hope so, right.
This is going to be the clincher.
Yeah.
Well, the folks on the nominating committees are
Good, a
listening.
good practice. Exactly. They're watching right now. Sure.
The insiders, yeah.
Yes.
Just give me a sec. Turn these back on. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Transitioning back to Bluetooth. Okay, transitioning back to Bluetooth. Okay, I love to start at the beginning with my guests. So the beginning for you, when you were a small child in your hometown, where did you pick up this love of music, and how did you first become aware it would become your life?
Well, I'm going to bring the piano in. So the piano people out there, I
Good.
will mention the piano at times. I'm not a professional
Very
level
good.
pianist, but I always like to what I call, compared to people like my colleague Bill Charlap, who teaches at William Paterson University, where I teach, I bang on the piano compared to the way he plays. But
Sure.
get back to that in a minute. Let me just say this: I fell in love with music as a small child. I was a bit rambunctious. I kind of ran around in circles and stuff. I was a little hyper, and a babysitter once was having a hard time simmering me down. I must have been 3 years old or so. And she's decided to put some records on the stereo, play some Broadway show tunes, whatever it might have been. I can't remember. I was 3. And for the rest of the afternoon, I sat down in front of the stereo and didn't move a muscle. And this babysitter said to my mother when she got home, Mrs. McGuinness, don't you play music for this boy? Because he's very rambunctious, but as soon as I play music, he just completely is entranced by it. And so that was the beginning of my mother connecting me with playing records. My father was a radio DJ in the late 1950s and early 60s, playing the popular music of the day on AM radio that included jazz, even in the late 50s, or jazz related music, Sinatra, Nat King Cole, singers with big bands. And so as older I got, and I realized my father was a radio DJ, at least for his early life, I said, what are these things, these big black circular things that was related to my father's career? So I want to find out what these things are. So I started going through his record collection, my father's record collection. And some of it was very, very hip, very jazz related. Some of it was rather corny. How much is that doggy in the window? That sort of
Well, I
thing.
feel like I was gonna guess that.
Exactly. He had to play that stuff. Though he
Sure.
wasn't playing rock and roll. Those were like devoted radio stations in those days to like rock and roll. He was playing like pop music of the day. So I'm falling in love with the music through his record collection. My parents brought a piano for my sister to learn how to play piano, a spin it, just a little spin it. Maybe it was a console. Can't remember the brand name. And my sister
Wait, I
turned,
just gotta pause here a second because this
yeah,
is in my head. I don't know, I'm just can't believe we've come all the way from how much is that doggy in the window to like Cardi B or something. It's like that is a long pathway of unexpected twists and
OMG.
turns.
And people are still alive to remember this. I mean, I don't remember that stuff because I wasn't born yet. I wasn't born until 1963, but my dad
Uh,
was playing that stuff on the radio. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My mom, she said,
Yeah.
and then when I was a kid, there were commercials about, oh, and get the hits, from when I don't know what year it was, the
KTEL
40s or
Records. Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
anyways,
Anyways, I'm
let's see.
sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. I would just want to like tie that into so the piano comes in the house from my sister, and I'm the precocious brat that I am, and I'm like learning her music by ear. I'm already getting an ear for music as I'm listening to these records. I'm really into it. I want to think to myself, one day I'm going to make one of these things with a big black vinyl
Hmm.
record thing. So I'm like, well, I'm developing an ear, and then when my sister isn't playing piano, I crawl up on the keyboard. Now I'm like 4 or 5 or 6, whatever. Maybe I did this before I started checking out the records, and I just was fascinated with the keyboard, the way it looked. You got all these white keys. I don't know
Hmm.
which one you can see. You got the white keys, and then these 2 black keys, and then these 3 black keys, and it repeats every octave. I'm looking at this thing,
Hmm.
and then they all not only do they look the same every octave, they sound the same, but these are lower, these are higher. My point being, when you're 4 or 5 years old, that's how you learn perfect pitch.
Hmm.
That is how at least that's how I developed perfect pitch at
Interesting.
a very young age. I made the visual connection to the
Right.
keyboard, to the
Right.
sound of the notes. Here's middle C in the middle of everything, and I could identify every note just by I
Hmm.
had made a visual connection because of the keyboard. By the way, for
Hmm.
any piano teachers, that's a great try that even with older people. You want to develop their perfect pitch, have the visual reinforcement of what the keyboard looks like
Sure.
every octave from
Yeah.
C to C.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
a
there's
way to get
probably
perfect
a
pitch.
critical period in that, and probably your early love of music is important.
Yeah.
They've they've there's a pattern there with people in who speak tone languages, like in Asia, Chinese and things like that. They develop perfect pitch more readily than people in the in the West, and part of it is just training the brain and attaching something special to, to the sound, right? Just the
Right.
fact that there's energy focused on it has a name, it has something you can associate it often with a color or just even the letter or the
Something
position on the
attached to it.
piano.
Always something,
Yeah.
you need a second thing to tie them together. So the
Hmm.
brain learns it in two different ways. For
Hmm.
me, it was a visual with the keyboard. For
Yes.
other people, it might be a word like the language thing. For another person, that they have, what is it called? Synesthesia. You
Synesthesia. Yep.
attach a color to it. So yes, the idea that a secondary thing is attached to this to the sound of the note, whatever that may be, is I guess that's what the science has demonstrated, that that's how people gain perfect pitch.
Yeah, yeah, and it's probably it's a window where the brain is developing and the connections are formed in a stronger way. I mean, it reminds me of how you have people in like northern countries where they have or Eskimos have a billion words for snow, right? It's because the snow is there and they have and that's just such a huge part of their life, and so you have all these different names which are associated and you can remember them and assign them. It's because you're paying attention. It's a big part of your life. Same thing with
Sure.
the notes, and it sinks into the brain. Anyways, little sidetrack on that. I was
But
in, and
I
I didn't
also
tell you
think,
this. I was over
yeah,
at sorry, I was over at CUNY. I was studying neuroscience and birdsong. That's why I like to bring this stuff in. Anyways, go on.
yeah, that always fascinates me how they can sing so in tune and always sing on the same pitch, you know.
So go on. So you develop
Oh,
perfect pitch. You
I was
develop the
just going to say
visual of
the
the
whole, yeah, the
keyboard.
piano thing is so important for everybody, and I'm so glad this is a piano website. I mean, I'm not a professional pianist, but it has been central to me when I'm composing, arranging big band music, when I simply just muse and create melodies at the keyboard with the limited technique that I have. I have enough technique because I went to conservatories, and so all these colleges, made you learn a certain amount of piano. I could get through a cocktail hour if you put a gun to my head, put it that way. I did once,
Hmm.
but with no gun to
Nice.
my head. For $100, I did. And
Don't
and
try it.
but
Don't try that at home.
exactly. But it's open to everyone, even if you're not a professional piano player. And I tell my students that the instrument's waiting for you. The hammers are waiting to strike the key, the strings. It's waiting for you. It's a gift. It's a
Mm,
machine that makes notes. I mean,
mm.
get comfortable with the keyboard, get comfortable with the piano. The rewards will be, even if you don't develop Van Cliburn chops, the
Yes.
rewards of having some facility on the piano as a musician, as a composer, as someone who just wants to hear chords, play melodies you're interested in, the rewards are just wonderful. So everyone should play some piano. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you for that glowing advocacy for the piano, the acoustic piano, of course, as well. Um, so many things we're going to talk about today. I just realized, and I might just do this just for fun. I don't know if we'll have the right audio for it, but we had a previous guest who was a trombonist, and I had told him that my son, who's 7, was interested in the trombone, and so he told me about this P-bone, the plastic trombone.
Yeah.
So I do have a plastic trombone here in the other room. I may just get it and ask you for like a basic trombone lesson. But case in point, like you're talking about, the trombone is a much, the facility of like just getting there and touching it and make it work. It's a little bit more complicated, you
Oh,
know?
I know that. I know that. That's because I'm not a professional. For me, it's just waiting for me to play. I
Yeah.
must tell you, I was a professional trombonist, and I played for 45 years. And I did have to retire about 5, 6 years ago due to a neurological condition called focal dystonia. My upper lip, when I would play the horn, put the
Yes.
mouthpiece up here. When I would
Dizzy
play the
Gillespie
horn,
had this.
you had focal dystonia.
I think that's what it was called. Yeah.
When I would put the mouthpiece up, I can't even buzz anymore. This whole upper lip would start to cramp when I played,
Oh,
which
it
made
would
it very,
cramp.
very hard to control the airstream. And I was struggled with this for about 8 or 9 years before I finally gave up. I went to all these teachers. I went to the principal trombone of the New York Phil. I went to the great Laurie Frink, who was the world's greatest brass teacher in the world. She was it. We used to play in Maria Schneider's band together. And I said, Laurie, my chops are acting funny. Can I get a lesson with you? Laurie Frank was really something special. And after years with
Yeah.
these people, I'd have good years and bad years and good years and then a really bad year. And I just said, in 2019, actually, was when it was. I just said, I was on a gig I've been in this band for over 30 years. I was on playing my horn. And I said, man, if it's going to fall apart and feel bad on this gig, of all gigs, a band I've been with for 30 years, then it's curtains. And by the second chart, I was playing my horn and it was like, this feels terrible. This is starting to cramp and move. And I just said, all right, I got dystonia. I can't play the way I used to want to. I want to play the way I used to. So I had to put the horn away. Anyway.
Yes. No, but thank you for sharing about that. And I did look it up. That was not Dizzy Gillespie's condition. I think that the topic though had come up now with a previous guest of ours studied something around focal dystonia because I remember that the topic came up. I think she ended up working with people to adjust their playing on the piano mostly, but part of her background was in learning about focal dystonia. So I don't know if you want me to connect you.
Was that Leon? I'm done. I haven't played in 6 years. I'm not going.
Yes, you said it's been a while.
Wasn't Leon Fleischer, the famous classical concert pianist, someone who suffered from focal dystonia in one of his hands?
It could be.
I believe that's true. I believe that's true. But anyway, I sing and I compose, arrange, and I teach. And, I'm more known nationally as a jazz vocalist than I am as a trombonist, even though I did all these great gigs with all these famous people as a trombone player. I'm more known as a singer because, I hit a little more of a jackpot with the singing.
What was the woman you worked with again?
Laurie Frink.
Laurie Frink.
She was a trumpet player, specific to brass players. Yeah.
Okay.
She tried.
So yeah, we'll listen to a recording in a minute. So that'll be fun. Just for everybody's interest, because there's a community here of piano technicians, and just so Peter lives in Brooklyn, New York, Park Slope, right? Was kind of where my old stomping ground as well. And so I was trying to guess his piano technician. So I guessed Dan Levitan. Now he said he'd heard that name, but that was not his piano technician. I don't know if anybody here has any other guesses.
Oh, I can tell you
I'm not going to give. I'm not going to give too much time. Anyways, his piano technician is Zeno Wood. Both Zeno and Dan are pretty well known globally in the piano industry. Zeno's very active in the Piano Technicians Guild. And Dan as well. So anyways,
also this gentleman named Jay, J-A-E.
Oh yeah, Jay. Yeah.
Jay's been my current piano technician.
Okay,
that's really my piano. But Zeno had an accident and hurt his hand, and then he was off the scene for a minute, and then we needed a piano tuner. And a colleague of mine at one of the music schools recommended Jay, who does great work too.
Yes, I'm aware of Jay. He's worked with my company as well a little bit. So, and where are you from originally? What's your background geographically?
I'm from West Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay.
And I was extremely fortunate because West Hartford, Connecticut is a suburb of Hartford, Connecticut. At the time I was growing up, had this absolutely fantastic high school jazz program. The jazz band at Hall High School, William H. Hall High School in West Hartford, Connecticut. When I was growing up, this was the band that won the very first Downbeat Award, Best in the Nation. We would win the Berkeley Festival almost every year, going up to Berkeley College in Boston. You name it, and there was money in the town. I mean, I'll be honest with you. All the kids had professional model instruments. They were taking private lessons. We would go to Europe every other year. So there was money. Money talks in this country. So I was lucky. We lived sort of in the middle of the tracks, if you will, the middle class neighborhood. But I still got to go to this great high school. Public school. And I was already very serious about the trombone. I wanted to be either Duke Ellington or Glenn Miller. I couldn't decide. And as a little kid, singing wasn't even. I was sort of singing. I sang in a musical in sixth grade. I was Captain Von Trapp. I had the whistle and Sound of Music, but I wasn't serious. I didn't see myself doing it as a living. I saw myself playing trombone for a living. I saw myself one day leading a big band for a living, doing this professionally. But the first thing I had to do was I had to get through high school, play in this great band, which we did. We won all these awards. It was just, and learned so much from Bill Stanley, Mr. William Stanley. This guy was like a little bit like the Whiplash teacher. You know the movie Whiplash,
Yeah, I don't know if I've
where he's
seen that, but
slapping the
I'm
kid's
familiar with it.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a little rough,
Thanks,
kind of a ridiculous film. Anyway,
yeah.
he's a little like that, a little of a tyrant. You can't be that way these days.
Wait,
But
that's not how you run things at William Paterson?
yeah, right. And throw up against the wall, no, you can't do that. Not at all. So that was
Some
that.
changes got to be made.
Yeah, that's right, man. So it's like that got me going. And then I went to conservatories. I went to NEC in Boston for classical trombone, University of Miami for finish up my degree on jazz trombone, although I always knew I was going to be a jazz player. I just wanted a couple of years of the conservatory classical scene. And then Manhattan School for a quick master's. They let me get out in 1 year, which is great. That was my way of getting a scholarship. I loved it. So, and then I also wanted to come to New York City and start my playing career while I was getting my master's. I figured while I'm finishing the master's, I'll creep into the scene. And that sort of happened. So by the time I finished my master's, a year after I got to town, I already made some contacts. I was already gigging. I did a week with the Buddy Rich Band. This is like 6 months after school was over. I'm making all these contacts. I'm getting in the Latin scene as a trombonist because they all love trombone. So I'm playing with really kind of well-known Latin jazz groups in New York City, including Manny Oquendo's Conjunto Libre, four trombones. Conjunto
What
Libre,
years was that?
like 1988,
Okay.
89.
Okay.
And
My
then,
dad was from the Bronx, and he was really into the Latin scene, but I think it was before that time, I believe.
oh, that's the home of it, man. That's where all the cats were, especially the Puerto
Yeah.
Rican musicians, all in the
Yeah.
South
Eddie
Bronx.
Palmieri.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
in fact,
Bill Watrous.
nice trombone player. Yes.
I remember him talking about Bill Watrous very specifically as a
Oh,
trombone
really?
player.
Eddie Palmieri talking about Bill Watrous.
No, my dad. I don't
Your
know.
dad. Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, I was not trying to make
Funny
that connection
connection
in
there.
my mind. Oh, Bill Watrous was he was, when he hit the scene, he was considered the it cat on trombone, just in terms of how high he could play, how fast he could play. Yeah, you just do all that stuff, pretty shockingly well. And that gave birth to people like John Fedchock and Conrad Herwig and a whole bunch of other cats that just the whole technique thing and the dexterity thing exploded with a guy like Bill Watrous. Although there were other people that people forget, Irby Green and Slide and JJ, they could certainly play, but the Watrous pyrotechnic thing shocked everybody, and everybody said, "Oh my God, we have to keep up with the saxophones. This guy's doing it. We got to
Yeah.
do it too." And so you got all these other cats that came after, including Whitfield. I would say
Oh, yeah.
Scott Whitfield, you're one of your old teachers, an
Yes,
old.
we were, just for context for everyone watching, we were talking before we started, and your William Paterson is not too far away from Rutgers in New Jersey, and Scott Whitfield was the trombone instructor at my program when I was there at Rutgers. Yeah.
Almost got that gig, I
Oh yeah.
I auditioned for the gig to teach trombone and arranging. They gave me the job.
Oh.
However, I thought it was a
Oh, did
half.
Scott sabotage you
No,
somehow?
no, no. This was after
I'm
Scott.
just kidding.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, this guy can play. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Scott. So no, that they gave me the job, but it turned out it was an adjunct job, and I already had two other adjunct jobs. I wasn't going to take a third one on. I was like, oh, I thought this was a half line position. So I paid my dues and to get my full professorship at William Paterson. A lot of dues in being an adjunct. Yeah,
Hmm. Well, good for you. I mean, that's great in music to have that.
took
That
time, man. It took time.
Yeah. Should we? I want to listen to some of your music here. We've got the film, the Pete McGuinness Orchestra. We've got a couple of tracks. We've got Topic and oh, sorry, from this moment on,
Yeah,
and
let's
we
play
have Where
that.
Do You Start? Which one? From this moment on?
Yeah, but
And co
this will feature my writing as a big band composer arranger. It's a
okay.
swinger, but it's got a modern flavor to it. I'm not going to pretend that I'm as modern as some of the new voices on the scene. I am 62, and I did remember the Basie writers and Rob McConnell and people like that, and Gil Evans. But it's got a modern edge. It does feature my vocal work too, as a singer of a melody and an improviser. I'm a scat singer. That was inspired by Chet Baker. Chet Baker is the reason
Oh,
I sing
great.
at all seriously.
Hmm.
So I love Chet and I love Mel Torme, and I try and do my own thing. So, and it's a great Cole Porter tune. Cole Porter's one of my favorite composers of standards. So, as a student of Bob Brookmeyer's, he made me try and push the envelope all over the place into places I was not comfortable. See, I was trying to change the rules here a little bit, and you'll still recognize the song, but I tried to revamp it and put it in new clothes. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just put the album. There's no video, but we'll just put the album up there for fun. Here we go. We may listen to a little bit of the whole thing. We'll see.
Okay.
From this moment on, you for me, dear, only 2:40, dear. From this moment on, from this happy day, no more blue songs, only whoop-de-doo songs. From this moment on, for you got the love that I need so much. You got the skin that I love to touch. You got the arms to hold me tight. Got the sweet lips to kiss me goodnight. From this moment on, you and I, babe, will be riding hard, babe. Every care is gone. From this moment on. The love that I need so much. You got the skin that I love to touch. You got the arms to hold me tight. Got the sweet lips to kiss me goodnight. Oh, from this moment on, you and I, babe, will be riding high, babe. Every care is gone. From this this moment's on.
Very nice. Wonderful. Great arrangement. Love I love the transitions and the solos. It's all very tasteful. I enjoyed the sort of sequencing of everything. It's very well balanced. Very impressive.
It's,
And so you studied with Bob Brookmeyer, you said, and
mhm.
is that kind of where you really got to develop your skills in this domain? I'm fascinated with composition, big band. I remember going to Rutgers and we had the opportunity to do a big band arrangement. And I'll be honest, I mean, I hadn't the first idea of what to do. You know, there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot to study and learn, and I got some books at some point, but I'm really impressed with people who get their arms around creating any type of large scale composition.
Well, first of all, when I was a little kid, I fell in love with big bands. I mean, I just fell in love with the swing or big bands. I was memorizing records. I mean, as a little kid, like maybe 6, 7 years old, I was listening to Benny Goodman records and Duke Ellington things, and just the sound of those horns, all 13 horns and 3/4 rhythm, all those exciting harmonies they were making. It just completely spoke to me. So it was like in memorizing these records and listening. When I say memorize, couldn't transcribe them at the age of 7, but I could sing along with them if
Right.
I could sort of sing along. Here's the saxes, and then here's the brass, and here they are all together. You know, so I was learning this stuff before I even knew I was learning this stuff. I was just enjoying it, man. I was addicted to it. I couldn't get enough of it. So when I finally got to school or I started taking actually private arranging lessons when I was about 14 in Hartford, Connecticut, at the
That's
Hartford
great.
Conservatory, privately with this guy. I wasn't in the
That's wonderful.
program. I was only 14. And I was learning voicings and I was learning how to write for 4 trumpets and 4 trombones. You put them together like that. And then I continued. I went to the Eastman Summer Camp for high school kids, more arranging study. I went to NEC and Miami and Eastman. I'm sorry, NEC, Miami, and Manhattan School. And along the way, you take arranging classes. So I'm still learning from the textbooks. But after I get out of college, writing arranging is kind of a hobby. It's just fun. And I was good. I was okay. I had a talent for it. And then a friend of mine said Bob Brookmeyer is starting this thing called the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop in 1988. And Bob didn't know a lot of the young writers. And so Bob said to this student of his, go out and recommend a few people for me. So this gentleman, his name is Glenn Mills, he said, Pete, I'm recommending you for this workshop that Bob Brookmeyer and Manny Album, the two of them, are putting together. Do you want to do it? It's free. It's for 2 years. You meet twice a month. The band reads every month. You get a concert. So of course I do. I mean, I was already enjoying Bob Brookmeyer's music. And so Bob had this workshop with a bunch of people who already could write. This wasn't for beginners and it wasn't for college students. It was for pros who always could write but wanted to write at a higher level. And he just challenged us to try more adventurous things, listen to contemporary avant-garde classical music. Don't just listen to Thad Jones over and over, although I love Thad Jones, of course. I knew a lot about that. And he told me that at one point. He said, Pete, you walked in this room already knowing a lot about this craft, a lot. But you sound very comfortable. My wish for you is to become more uncomfortable. And so I tried some things. Even what you just heard now is pretty straight ahead jazz. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's not avant-garde in any sense.
No,
However,
it's a beautiful arrangement. It's not like,
it's very straight
oh,
ahead.
what the heck? It's not like, oh,
No, no, no,
what the
no.
heck just happened?
It's not changing the rules at all. But there are moments in there that I would not have done had it not been for Bob getting me to be comfortable with dissonance, get comfortable with extending the form, get comfortable with taking a melody and morphing it into something else. And so basically Bob tried to pull my string out this far, I'm a rubber band. And when he released it, I came back, but I wasn't here, I was there. I feel I was definitely a more adventurous composer arranger after my 2 years of Bob Brookmeyer. So that came later after college. But at that point, then I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to lead a big band. I'm going to write a whole book of charts, and I'm going to try and make a splash in the world.
So I'm just curious, just because I want a little cheat code here. I'll never really have time to explore this probably further. Maybe sometime 10 years down the line, maybe I'll remember this. What's the sort of rubric or the sort of progression that people need to go through to learn this type of composition, like arranging for a big band, for example? Of course, there's the rudimentary things. You got probably learn some counterpoint and your basic scales and patterns and chords and all that stuff. And then at some point, you start diving deeper into certain topics, right? And you go to the next topic, you go to the next topic. Is there like a curriculum, I guess, that you can draw out from, what you teach or your own progression going from point A to point B, becoming an arranger, composer?
I will tell you this because I get very bright students at William Paterson University. They're on
Sure.
one of the better schools in the country. There's no doubt about it. They already know some things. So say they walk in the door and they've already heard a lot of records. That's the
Yep.
key. If you
Yep.
haven't heard a lot of this music, whether it's a quartet, Coltrane quartet or whatever, and not highly arranged, if you don't have any background in the history of the music, you don't know what it sounds like,
Yeah.
then it's very hard to learn, I think. So for people that are studying arranging, I have like every week I say, all right, listen to this, listen to that. Here's a list of things to listen to. You've got to just start listening to this stuff. Because my job at that point is, I can't tell you what you're supposed to like, but you must start listening, and I mean deeply, repeatedly. Let that part of your brain, like I did as a child, start to learn the music from the listening point of view. Then once you've got something to draw on in the back of your musical mind, you do the craft, you learn the voicings, you learn the orchestration, you start to connect what you've already heard and you have a clear oral memory of to what's on the paper.
Got it.
Then, because you're going to want to. In other words, when I heard the Duke Ellington Orchestra, I just something like Take the A Train or Satin Doll, and I was like, maybe 11 years old. I was like, I want to do that. I love these sounds. I love them. I don't know how to put this on paper. So then when I was 14, I got with the teacher and he showed me voicings and he showed me craft and he showed me technique. And as soon as I learned these things, I could say, oh, this voicing in the trumpets is like we heard what Billy Strayhorn did at this moment in the chart. I was able to connect what I heard with the technique, and then I could look at scores. So it's the listening, learning the craft, looking at the scores. Now you got the craft together and you got the ear together, but you're still not there with it making a splash. Then there's the whole idea of imitating. Like, I know I imitated Bill Holman at times, the
Mhm.
great Bill Holman. I know I imitated at times Thad Jones or Bob Brookmeyer, even Maria Schneider later in my life. But then you want to make your own voice out of all your influences. So that's the other thing a teacher can never tell you. Who are you supposed to love? You have to decide who you're going to love yourself.
Sure.
You're supposed to love Mingus. I love many things by Mingus. You're supposed to love this. You're supposed to love that. You're supposed to love that. There's things by George Russell that are crazy sounding that I love. And it's like, I love what I want to love. I'm not open to other things. Don't get me wrong, but I do make choices about what really touches my heart. I really want to get to know what's going on, and repeated listening again, and maybe looking at a score. Like, all right, this Bill Holman chart really rocks my world. I can kind of hear what the voicings are in the orchestration, but there's more to it. Maria Schneider, I had to study some of her scores to get some of those sounds she created. And that all goes into the soup. You're stirring the soup. And then somehow it's like the magical thing about how life was created. No one really knows. Where does your personal creativity come from? That is going to be the secret sauce that I think it's very hard to. But if you do all these things up to that point before the secret
Yes.
sauce enters, you have a better chance of doing something of quality. You follow what I'm saying? If you've done all the prep work, then when the muse strikes, you've got all these resources to rely on to do something of quality. It's the best answer I can give you.
I love that. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. There was a time, we're all searching for our niche and what we're doing, right? And there was a time where I said, I'm going to study orchestration. I'm going to learn film scoring or something, right? That's something that happens when you're coming out of school. What the hell am I going to do? But but yeah, I just remember it being exciting, but also just like, I had Rimsky-Korsakov and I had, these different books and to be honest, it was I didn't get to study with an instructor at that point. I already graduated, right? So it was kind of like a self-study. So I'm always curious what the process is like, how to make it go faster. And like I said, I'm sure I could get it. It's just the time involved,
Oh, it
right?
takes
You
real
gotta
time.
listen to
It's
all
real
these things
time.
and you gotta associate them with the page. How easy is it these days with technology to get a score for a given piece that you like?
Mm, mm.
Is that easier these days? Is it
To
still kind
get
of
a
hard to
score,
grab a
well,
score?
the PDFs fly around. So maybe if you're talking about that, like
Hmm.
there's a lot of PDFs that the composers probably would not be happy to know is flying around.
Okay.
A lot of things are published, like for example, that Maria Schneider book I told you about, that's a book I purchased. Uh, Her scores from her first album called Evanescence. You want to learn about great piano writing? She's a genius at writing for the piano. She really writes for the piano as an instrument in the orchestra, not just simply an instrument that accompanies. And I've learned a thing or two from her about how to integrate writing for the piano with the other horns and the rest of the rhythm section properly, or not properly, but more
Tastefully.
enmeshed, more organically with the band.
Hmm.
It's really lovely writer for the piano. So I don't know. I mean, I got a ton of scores I have, and
So you find what you find, but it's not terribly easy. There's no, I know like these days, you never know what's out there, some tool who know AI just grabs a score
yeah,
for you and you
I
just
know.
play the
Yeah, but you got
music,
to
or I
read
don't
it.
even know if these things are available these days or
You know
not
what it
yet
is?
close.
A bad
Yeah.
transcription of something. You don't
A
necessarily.
bad transcription, a
Well,
bad
that's
trans,
why you go
what?
to like to Lincoln, like in New York, you go to the Lincoln Center Performing Arts Library, and they have all the scores waiting for you there. For
Okay.
these great.
What how much of the time is actually spent doing your own transcription? Because of course you can hear what's going on. I think that is probably sometimes confusing when you have a big band. There's so many instruments. Is that the flute? Is that the
Yeah, yeah,
trumpet
yeah.
on that note? But was there a lot of time, okay, let me sit down and listen because I've transcribed like a solo, but that's a whole other thing if you got, okay, there's, four of this instrument and four
Yeah.
of that one and other, like that's a lot to put on paper.
Well, what I do, and I do this with my students, is I oftentimes will have them transcribe, but to start, instead of writing the notes out, start to write words down on paper. First of all, what's the overall form? You map it out on a piece of paper. Letter A, letter B. Just pick numbers out of the air. Letter A, letter B, letter C, letter D, and there's an ending, there's a coda, there's a DS maybe. You map
Yep.
that out. Then you start to write text. Where's the melody versus where's the
Okay.
support? The melody's being played by unison saxophones. The support is trombones and harmony. That's all I need to know right now. I don't need to know what range they're in. I don't need to know what the voicing is. I'm just starting with the basics. You have to do things in an order to get it.
Mhm.
If you try to do everything, just transcribe this note and go through the whole score, then you don't see that. First of all, it's slower, and secondly, it's you don't appreciate the form as well.
Right.
You don't see the big picture, and it's so much easier. So then you write these things down. Saxophones have the melody, trombones have the backgrounds or whatever it might be. Then the third step is to write the lead instruments out only. So who's got the melody? Let's say the saxophones are in harmony. You just write the lead alto note out. That's all you do. You don't bother with the harmony yet. You just let it go because there's going to be another lead line, an accompaniment figure relating to this note, not these notes, but that note. So this
Right.
might be a unison trumpet figure relating to or above in counterpoint with. So now you appreciate the counterpoint of the sections. So
Mhm.
now your job is almost done
Mhm.
because you've got the lead lines, you've got the who's doing what where. Now it's where you have to use your ears. Now it's like, okay, it's a voicing of some kind. That's where your craft kicks in. I know what a four-way close voicing is. I know what a drop two voicing is. I know what a cluster voicing is. I use my hands a lot because it works.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In fact, I taught some Austrian students about 15 years ago. They didn't speak any English. So I said, zwei Trompete. Eins, zwei, drei, vier. Vier Trompete. Ah ja, vier Trombone, Posaune. Aber, Moment. Eins, zwei, drei, vier. Ah, zwei is here. That was my explanation for drop two.
Good for you for trying that out.
Well, they could see it. They could visually see
Yep.
it.
Absolutely.
My hands hurts. So I don't transcribe a lot anymore, but I will say I try and do it in my mind now. I know enough about voicings and craft that I try
Sure.
and appreciate. I try to appreciate what a composer is doing, and I can almost imagine what they're doing. I just stick with the big picture stuff. Where's the melody? Is it voiced? Is it dissonant? Is it consonant? I know enough about craft, and I don't feel I need to necessarily transcribe voicings. Like I'll listen to John Hollenbeck or Darcy James Argue. These are new big band of composer arrangers, and I'm trying to appreciate what they've done just from an oral perspective, almost like imagining what the score is like in my head.
Hmm.
What is their intent? More than transcribing, like what are they trying to communicate here with this music? What's the bass line doing? And how does it relate to melodies above? And how do they intermesh? It's the how, not necessarily the what, that sometimes is more important.
And for you personally, speaking of the piano, how much of your compositional process is that at a piano? Is it because you have perfect pitch, you're just sort of visualizing it, writing it down, I mean, auditorializing it and writing it down?
The
How
piano
do
is
you use
fun
the
because
piano for composition?
sometimes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right now, if I jump over the piano, I can just bang a little bit and show you what I mean. But with the technology now, I have used the software technology of Finale, and
Okay.
now I have to use Dorico because Finale is being going by the wayside. And those are the only two I ever learned: Finale and now Dorico. And I talked to one of my old colleagues who just passed away, Jim McNeely, great composer arranger,
Sure.
and we chatted, and he said, "Oh, I tell you, Pete, I'm not going to be a snob about this. I like playback. You hit the button and it goes back in real time at the tempo you choose with a fake swing feel, and these are fake
Hmm.
horns playing. But if you have a good enough imagination, you
Right.
get the general idea. You know what the horns are generally going to sound like because you know enough about orchestration. You don't have to be a student might get swayed, but a seasoned pro knows what trumpets sound like in a certain range. So they're not going to be thrown. But it's like if you try some weird dissonant clustered thing and you're not sure how it's going to come across in time, you hit play and it happens in time. It's like, okay, or stop everything and go back and fix it. So I work a lot with the software, and the piano is for musing. The piano is for me putting the pedal down and playing some chords and dreaming and being a fake Bill Charlotte from time to time because I enjoy playing the piano. I'm not terrible at it. I enjoy making melodies and swinging and playing licks and things. I absolutely, my fingers hitting the keys. There's some physical thing about that I enjoy. I can't explain it
Yeah,
mechanically.
I mean it is. Yeah, it's nice. It's easy. It's just easy. And even I mean some people like electronic keyboards, but it's almost you don't have to plug it in and and it's got the I'm the word human is coming to mind. It's not human, of course, it's a piano, but it's human. It's a human interaction. It
Yeah,
feels organic. You just touch the key and oh,
I think there's
something's
something
going on.
universal about the love of piano. It's always been a popular instrument because, first of all, you can play loud and you can play soft, pianoforte. But there's something I think personally about the finger strike, and I'm not a professional piano player. You piano players out there, forgive me, but for me, striking the key, whether it's a chord or an individual note, and the hammer hitting the string, it's a percussion instrument. It's in the percussion family. I think people feel something. They feel something of that percussive nature of the hammer hitting the string, but it's
Hmm.
not it's not like like bells or vibraphones with a mallet. It's just softer. It's much softer, but there's still that feeling. You get that
Hmm.
visceral feeling
Hmm.
of the hammer striking the string, and I think people are attracted to that. Why do people love drum solos? Very interesting. And why do I also find it interesting the vinyl thing? There's a needle and this thing is striking the needle. There's a physical thing happening. There's
Yes.
something physical happening. And so same with the piano that I don't think you can get that sensation listening from a non-acoustic piano. I don't think
Yeah,
you.
a few friends have had those Victrola even, right? Where you not it's even that next level of organic that
Right, exactly.
because it's not coming out of the speakers through
Right, it's the big
electricity.
horn.
It's coming straight out this horn, and it has there's something special about that sound, It does have it's like a mystical kind of a quality when you really get to listen to it on that type of a
Yeah.
device. Um, all right, well, we can
I
wrap it
hope
up.
we have time to play the thing with Bill Charlap, though,
Oh
because
yeah, well let's do it. Yeah, I didn't know.
fans
I
out
didn't know if
there,
we.
your fans out there should know if you're familiar with Bill Charlap. He is my
Okay.
colleague at Paterson University, and he's a
Yeah.
world-class pianist, and this is a dream come true to have him perform on my record. So this is the thing I wrote with a studio orchestra. 8 strings were doubled to sound like 16, and there's other studio orchestra instruments in there. And I
All right,
sing.
let me get.
Bill plays piano, and it's a Johnny Mandel song with lyrics by the Bergmans, and it's a sad song. The lyrics are quite sad, but it's
Where
a
do you
lovely
start?
song. Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
Let's start here.
Where do you start? How do you separate the present from the past? How do you deal with all the things you thought would last that didn't last? With bits of memories scattered here and there, I look around and don't know where to start. Which books are yours? Which tapes and dreams belong to you? And which are mine? Our lives are tangled like the branches on a vine. They intertwine. So many habits that we'll have to break. Yesterdays we'll have to take apart. Someday there'll be a song or something in the air again to catch me by surprise, and you'll be there again, a moment in what might have been. Where do you start? Do you allow yourself a little time to cry? Or do you close your eyes and kiss it all goodbye? I guess you try. And though I don't know where and don't know when, I'll find myself in love again. I promise there will always be a little place no one can see, a tiny part within my heart that stays in love with you. song or something in the air again to catch me by surprise, and you'll be there again, a moment in what might have been. Where do you start? Do you allow yourself a little time to cry? Or do you close your eyes and kiss it all goodbye? I guess you try. And though I don't know where and don't know when, I'll find myself in love again. I promise there will always be just a little place no one can see, a tiny part within my heart that stays in love with you.
Beautiful. Yes. Thanks for having us listen to that. Great piano part for sure.
Mm.
Love those
Conrad
strings.
is super tasteful, man. I mean, I just love how little he does at certain times. And the touch he has on some little ditty thing. Boop, dee, boop, 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 dee, boop. Then I'll just launch into it. You know, it kind of reminds me of Ahmad Jamal in that way. That Ahmad Jamal, the great jazz pianist, could do so little and then just slay you with unbelievable virtuosity.
When you're using strings, which strings are you using in a composition like that? Is it just the violins and violas? Is there bass and cello? Like what's incorporated?
I'll tell you, there were four violins, two viola, two cello.
Mm,
And I probably should have had five violins, and I overdubbed them a second time.
mm,
But so it worked out okay because I had 16 strings in the end. So the four violins, violin one and two, basically it's an SATB situation. Violins, although violins one and two, viola and the cellos, and sometimes the cellos would split,
mm.
or I do double stops. The viola sometimes it split. So I'd have 5 or 6 note voicings at times. But if it were just four notes, the violins, the violas, violin one and two, viola, cello, that'd be SATB kind of thing. And then when you that's four notes. And then when you overdub that to be 16 strings, that's 8 violins on that part. And that's 4 violas and 4 cellos. So the sound was rich. So basically, I dealt with the SATB situation occasionally, having divise more than one viola part, more than one cello part, especially if it's a low root, and I want cello two to be really sitting on that low root, while cello one is fitting on the perfect fifth above it or something. And I didn't want it just double stops. I wanted the full sound of the instrument. So yeah, so basically we're talking 5, maybe 6 notes in a voicing at any given time, and majority of the time SATB kinds of voicings. Don't forget there's a string bass in the jazz
Yeah,
rhythm.
but just one plucking bass mostly,
Yeah,
right? They're not.
no,
Which
there's
is
no
that used much?
arco.
I feel like now that I think about it, when you have strings in an orchestration like that, you don't always hear the basses uh, with the bow. Like bass is bowing, multiple. That's not like a thing really in these arrangements.
No,
Is that
because
just
then
because of the rhythm section and it's too thick?
it interferes with the rhythm section. It interferes with the bass register. So if the bass is playing a jazz bass part, pizzicato, and the notes are
Right.
here, and you've also got arco regular bass, bass with not pizzicato in the same register, it's too cluttered. So the cello is really here's your jazz bass, and then above that starts the strings with the cellos just above the range of the string bass, the pizzicato jazz bass. Yeah.
I could go forever. I'm so curious about these principles. Thank you for sharing so openly. Is there anything that you want to share before we depart? Promote anything? You know what? I had one more. Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
What is it like these days? I know the landscape changes so much with like touring and performing. Of course you're a teacher, you got to kind of stay in the
Mm.
home base, all that kind of stuff. But then you're in New York, do you do much performing and touring these days, or is that mostly just create the record and no?
I used to tour quite a bit with other people. I'd be on the bus with the Woody Herman band. I'd be on tour with Maria Schneider in Europe. And I went all over the world with her. I was never actually a member of the band. I was her first call sub, and so there were three tenor trombone players. And so if this person wasn't there, I was there. If this person wasn't there, I was there. I did a lot of gigs. Went to Rio de Janeiro, went to the Kennedy Center, went all over the place. So a lot of my touring and stuff was as a side person, side man, if you will.
Well, yeah, it's a lot
When
to
I was
pull
a
together too. If you're the composer arranger and you got to pull all those folks together, it becomes project management even beyond
Yeah.
just musical skills. Yeah.
So actually, with my own projects, because I'm a full-time professor at William Paterson now,
Hmm.
which occupies a lot of my time, which is fine. I have an open invitation at the club in New York City called Birdland. It's a well-respected New York jazz club, and I play there virtually every year. So I have basically at this point, for my own thing, I have one gig a year, a night at Birdland, and that's totally
Okay.
great. It's always packed. I write new music for it. For 8 years, however, I was with a vocal group called the Royal Bopsters. There were four singers in a jazz rhythm section, and we did three tours of Europe. We headlined at Newport. We made a record. We sang very often with people like Bob Dorough and Sheila Jordan. These are iconic, famous jazz singers.
Hmm.
And gosh, we lost one person to cancer, and then COVID hit, and then all these horrible things. And I pulled back from the group because my teaching was
Sure.
just starting to take over.
Sure.
So the group is in transition right now, but we had a good 8 year run, man, as a group sort of modeled on the New York Voices or Manhattan Transfer, something like that,
Sure.
with much more of a bebop, all of us scat sang bebop style. So that was touring, and in that regard, I was a co-leader of that group. So that was only seven people. That was the four singers. And when we went, this is for your fans. If you go to Europe, a lot of times you don't have to bring your trio with you. If you go to like Paris or wherever we performed, we'd reach out and get a trio of local musicians. And that way you don't have to fly everybody all over the world. So in Vienna, we had a trio. In France, we had a trio. In London, we had a trio. Three different trios. That's a way to do it when you're on the road. Hire local musicians, but make sure you get good ones. They can read. You only have one rehearsal. Bam, you got to get it together real quick.
Yeah, kind of
For
fun.
me,
Fun
pay them the
challenge.
right money.
Thanks for answering that. I was curious. Okay, now any last thing you want to share? Of course, people can go check out the record. It's a mixed bag. Anything else just to send people to or have them check out or
Oh, well,
words of wisdom?
most of my stuff's on YouTube. If you want to hear any of the things I've done as a singer, I have a vocal record where I sing nothing but it's focused on my singing. And all of these cuts are on YouTube. The record company put them out there. I can't change that. So the album was called Voice Like a Horn, featuring primarily my singing and some of my trombone playing. Um, so you'll hear a bit of my trombone playing there. I've made four records as a big band leader. This album, Mixed Bag, is the fourth record for Summit Records. In the previous albums, I played trombone on every album as a featured soloist. Um, so you can check those. Just put my name in, Pete McGuinness Jazz, and you'll see all the cuts from all the various records I've ever done, whether as a singer, an arranger, or a big band leader, trombonist, you name it. And the Royal Bopsters, I'm very proud of the Royal Bopsters, that 8 year association I had. All those cuts are on YouTube as well. They're on the Motema record label for those of you still purchasing. See, are these things going away, Ethan?
I think you're
You
I think we're
know,
on to I think we're on to cassette tapes or something now, right?
these things. I think they're going the way of the dodo, man.
This is the CD,
Unbelievable.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
My next
Uh,
project, I don't know what it'll be. I don't know what the format will be because it could be a whole new world in 4 or 5 years. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I guess there's always streaming, right? Streaming is the thing. You
That'll
can make
stick
a lot of
around.
money off of it. It's very
Yeah.
exploitative. But check out the streams, add them to your Spotify, and pray that, yeah, be thankful that he has income from his teaching.
I know,
It's
I
not coming
know.
from
I mean,
Spotify.
I'm not a fan of giving the music away for free at all. I mean, particularly
Mm,
Maria Schneider is very upset about even the YouTube idea. But the thing is, um, the physical, even the small things, which is much smaller than a vinyl record. You have artwork, you've got information, photographs, you got the story, you got the liner notes, all that stuff. I think you miss a little bit of. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you stream things, you just get the cut, you just get the music. You don't get all the cuts from the record as a
no,
story. These were done in a
no,
certain order,
no.
and the things we all took for granted are going away. Everything is so individual now. An individual streaming cut with no pictures, no bio, no text, no story, and people are missing out on the bigger picture. I think a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. There's a richness there that we need to
Yeah.
make sure people don't miss out on. Also, just going to see music live. That's a big thing I advocate for. Um, all right, well, I'll do the outro and we'll sign off. And then once I'm done, just jump back on the Zoom real quick. I'll end the call, but jump back on the Zoom. We'll do a quick wrap up.
I'll just
Um,
stay here then. I'm not getting off. I'll just stay here.
uh, okay, sounds good.
You want me to get off?
Um,
I should get off? Okay.
yeah, because then I can end the call, it'll end the stream and all that
Gotcha.
stuff. And we'll be good.
So,
But I'll walk us out first, and I'll just end it, and then you can flip on
okay.
the Zoom again.
Okay.
Okay, we have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. We're going to thank Peter McGuinness for joining us today, as well as our live audience here. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today, by signing up for this session individually, you can make your life more convenient by subscribing to Piano Tech Radio. $16 a month. You get a recording of today's session in our member area. Automatic registration for each week's new session. You can sign up at bit.ly/joinptrh. That's bit.ly/joinptrh. Don't forget about the podcast, the Substack, the socials, links in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Sign up for the email list on the website, and check out our new podcast, which is called the Future Education Podcast at podcast.uotu.xyz. And we'll see you all again next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for you all, and thank you.